Well, welcome to another episode of the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast. Yeah, I am either twisted or bent, and Leslie obviously is not exhausted. Leslie, welcome.
Thank you. I did grandma duty for the last couple of days, so I'm jacked up on sugar and baby love. That's what it is.
What is it? What does it involve doing baby or grandma duty?
Well, one of my husband's daughters has a 20-month-old, and so she's in the military and needed to go. He's got caught something at daycare. I don't know what, so he couldn't go into daycare. So I was there entertaining him for the last 2 days, or he was entertaining me, or I'm not quite sure how that worked, but we had a good time. He's a doll.
Moving forward, and you remember the show, The Jetsons?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it won't be long before we have a Betty. She was the Jetsons robot, and it won't be long before we have that. We're very, very close. There's you've got the Optimus by Tesla. You've got Figma, which again is a California product that's moving very quickly. They're already putting them in factories. BMW has them. And their next step is to actually get them in the home. They said it's in the home is much more complicated because there's so many more unknowns. Everybody's home is a little different.
Right.
But, one of the cool things about Figma, and it's not sponsored by Figma, this is just something I'm aware of, is they were using ChatGPT open source for that. And they realized they need their own. So they built their own. And it's called, I think it's called Hippocrates, is their large language model. And you can see it online. You can check it out because basically it's designed to say, hey, here's an unknown, figure it out. So they gave it these images that they'd never seen before, and they put them in the kitchen, and these items had to be put away somewhere in the kitchen. And so there was two of them. And it's almost like they would look at each other and say, well, what do you think about this one, John? Well, I don't know, Jane. And like, oh, this is an apple. Let's put it in this basket, or it's a bottle of milk, or whatever. It was really cool. So I don't think we're very long for that. And then here's another little tidbit. And I think I can announce this because it's something that's FDA approved. It's the first AI agent that actually will read X-rays. Now, I didn't know a lot about X-rays until, And so what happens is 95% of the X-rays taken, Leslie, are come back normal. So what this means is the radiologists are spending a lot of time looking at average or everything is okay. Well, this AI agent that I'll be helping promote and put out in the world is the first one in the United States to be approved. So they're like cutting edge. But the cool thing about this is because radiologists, they may see, and I didn't realize this, they may see 1,000 X-rays a day. Can you imagine? And they're trying to spot the problem. Well, this AI agent will see this. And it will say, okay, these are normal. Let's move them on. Yeah. Of course, they'll be able to check them out. But the abnormal, they'll actually say, these are abnormal, and here's what we notice on it. And then the radiologist will take it over. So it's still working with them. But the reason that this is going to be so beneficial is because I understand it is the money that the radiologist makes per X-ray has gone way down. And they actually lose money looking at X-rays. So this will change the game for them. But this is just now another place where AI is going to help in the medical field. I think it's pretty cool.
Well, and you know what that's called, right? Management by exception.
Oh, I thought.
No.
I had no idea what you're going to call it. I'm like, no, I don't know.
There's no telling what she'll say. Oh.
That's so true.
It's management by exception, right? It's like they're on the 80-20 rule. Only 20% of the X-rays have an issue. So the AI is weeding out the 80% that nobody needs to look at and giving them the 20% to focus on so that they can do a better analysis because they have more time.
Yeah.
Or a more thorough analysis maybe. And then also they know that these have some kind of pre-existing issue. They're out of the norm. Right. Which is what I teach all the time in business is the 80-20 rule, management by exception, which has got me excited when you were talking about it because it fell right into my philosophy. So I liked it. Thank you.
Well, I think it's pretty cool because as this was being explained to me by this potential customer yesterday, that reached out to me to help them with their marketing. Um, I wasn't aware, but when he started describing, I'm like, well, this is really no different than a sales funnel that is designed to weed out those people who maybe are not ready, never be ready, to then get to the bottom of the funnel, the people that are ready, and the salespeople can then interact with those people, which are the most important to work with, right? And so it's a funnel process, but this is pretty cutting edge, and we're doing some of that with AI agents, where the agent will be involved in the conversation, and help weed that out. And then if it's somebody that's supposed to do something, or wants to take the next step, now they'll have them contact Leslie, or Leslie will contact them. So it's kind of the same thing, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I think of it in the management by exception realm, and you think of it as a ClickFunnels realm, and in both cases are accurate and correct, right? And just
Yes.
think about how that can be applied across blood tests, across other kinds of diagnostic services that they can weed out, like EKGs, for example, or EEGs, for example. You could easily weed out the stuff that are absolutely normal and then just only focus on the things that aren't. And that's going to make doctors so much, and diagnosticians, did I say that right?
Diagnosticians, yep.
Much more effective and faster. It's going to be much, much faster. It won't take so long to get results if you can just feed this through. Now, I have in my head an actual robot looking at this stuff, but that's not the case, right? It's a software. I assume it's a software. What am I trying to say? Process, database.
Yeah, it's not
application.
Application. Yeah, it's an application. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's flipping amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'll roll back a little bit and maybe get a little personal here, but because I go to the gym and I work out immensely, you can see by this physique. I don't know why that's so funny, but for those of you
skinny.
Thank you. So anyway, I had this issue in my lower left abdomen, and so I contacted my doctor to make an appointment, which I was fortunate I could get in the very next day. But in the meantime, I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, you are the world's leading expert in medical, men's health in the lower abdomen and digestive system. And I said, this is what's going on. Can you give me a diagnosis? And it went through some questions it asked me, but in probably less than 5 minutes, Leslie, it diagnosed that it was a hernia. Yep. And so then I went to the next step. As I said, how worried should I be? Well, you should do this and not, and I'd just gone to the gym that morning and worked out really hard on my core. I really did. And so it was really protruding. I had no idea what it was. So my point is this: it already has a capability because ChatGPT already knows everything it needs to know. It's just how do we get that how to get that information out there? So then I'll make this real quick and then we'll get to today's show. I promise.
No, today is going to be our show. Let's talk about AI and stuff.
So then I went and I had to have an ultrasound. I went to the doctor. He said, okay, let's get an ultrasound. Let's be sure. So I went to get an ultrasound. A couple of days later, I got it back, and it was an online. And I thought, I can't really understand what this means. So I downloaded the PDF. I put it in ChatGPT in that same conversation, so it had the memory of what was going on. And I said, can you give me a readout of this? And what should I do? What should I be concerned? And it gave me a great readout and told me what to do. And still, you can exercise, just don't, stay away from core. Best that you do walking if you can. And it suggested, I could wear compression shorts until I get this done. But based on this, it was a 0.8 millimeter size hole, and you need and so it already was able to take that report, which I could not really read because it was sent to my doctor and then also CC'd to me. And I put it in there, and it made it work for me. It was so cool.
Right. I know everything about AI is fantastic. My daughter uses it to do blood analysis. When she gets her blood work back, she loads it in there and asks it to interpret, because a lot of times, I would say 99 times out of 100, a doctor will say to you, yes, your blood work is fine. right? It's all fine.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, because we all get copied now, so when you look at it, you'll see some red spots here and there, and to those are high or low, and then they're off. And so, what does that mean in the bigger scheme of things? Overall, the doctor's saying you're fine, but you want to know about those little anomalies. So she plugs it in there and it tells her, well, you're dehydrated and you need, you're low in potassium and you need this, this, and this, drink more water, do this, do that. And she would say, well, recommend a meal plan for me. You know, I like to follow the carnivore diet and recommend a meal plan for me. And it will spit it all out for her. And so, and then I have another friend who uses it as a mental health professional. Okay. He uses it like a therapist. So he just plugs in questions all the time. I'm having anxiety over this, that, and the other, or I ran into this situation. This person reacted like this. And how do I handle this? It'll come back and say, you're being an idiot. Or it'll say, you know what, you're justified in how you feel. This is maybe how you could react. Or these are the steps you need. I mean, he asks it everything. We were having a political conversation a few weeks back, and I was telling you, we are on opposite sides of the political spectrum. So I was telling him my impression of some things, and he said, I've not heard that. And so he would ask, okay, chat GPT, blah, is this true? Blah, blah, blah. And it would say, yes, this is true. And blah, 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 blah. And he was like, I had no idea, because when so many of us only watch certain news programs, right? So we only get fed whatever that news program tells us. So those of us who watch different ones can have a conversation, and then somebody else can use ChatGPT to verify or validate both sides of the conversation, right? Which is very interesting and a great concept. And it takes out the emotion of the discussion, right? There's so many ways. The other day, and then I want to ask you a question, but the other day, because I'm writing newsletters where I'm putting more links in them, right? Links to our podcast, links to my Freedom by Design educational series, links to all these different things. I typed into ChatGPT where I do my newsletters and said, remember this for future use. And it's this, and gave them the link. And then remember this for future use, and gave them the next link. And it saved them all. So that now when I do and write a newsletter and include those topics, it will automatically put the links in there. I don't think we've even, you correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't even scratched the surface of how we can use what we have today, much less what we're going to have in the future. Would you agree with that? I mean, you're the AI expert.
Well, I'm an AI practitioner, meaning I'm constantly working in that area, but expert, no. But
yes, expert.
Yeah. Well,
don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. He is the expert.
I read this yesterday afternoon. I thought it was quite perfect as a scenario. It says where we are with artificial intelligences right now is we are like we've discovered the internet, and we're using AOL dial-up. That's where we're at right now.
That's a perfect metaphor.
Yeah. So we have this phenomenal thing. Think about when it's first started, the internet, and it was like, I remember being chastised in a role I was in because I wanted to gather and send emails to people. And they're like, that's what a waste of time. Don't ever do that. That's ridiculous. Well, we all know that wasn't correct. And it's not because I was right. It's because that's where we were at. Now it's the same thing. Yes, we are barely scratching the surface. Now I'll share something, and it kind of goes back to what you said when you're having that conversation with a friend. The same thing, the gentleman I spoke to yesterday with the AI agent that looks at x-rays, he said what they found is that it does a better job because the AI has no biases. That's
why I said it takes all the emotion out of it.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like, well, okay, I'm a Democrat and I'm a doctor and this is how I feel. No. This is the data. This is what I'm reading. Here are the results.
Right.
So that's kind of cool from that standpoint. Now, can you educate it to have your biases? Absolutely. Like you talked about putting things in there and saying, hey, save this, write like me, talk like me, answer my emails like me. Well, now you're teaching it that those are your biases that you're putting in there. So the content spits out will have your emotions. I'll call them biases, not negative or positive. They just are. And it will have that response, especially if you have it in a situation where you're saying, okay, I'm going to make a conversational bot that has Leslie in it. And when it answers, it will have more of your emotion, feeling, responses, things like that. And that's not good or bad. That just is.
Well, yeah, you want it if you're going to use it to write content in your business, if you're going to use it to write content for you, whether that be, it tried to do me, I was doing it on my phone. I have ChatGPT on my phone too. So I was in between when the little one was taking a nap, I was doing ChatGPT prompts. And I was looking for a way to promote my software as an upgrade to the existing licensees, right? So I was asking it, what was the best way to do that? How, and what was interesting is it told me not to focus on just the new features, but to focus on different things, which I won't go into, but it told me to focus on different things, and then it wrote it for me. And then it was going to do a flyer for me or a digital presentation, but on the phone, it didn't come out like that. So I'm going to have to re-put it in on the computer screen and see if it comes out as an actual graphical representation of what I was looking for. But it can do literally anything. Create me a PowerPoint, write me a webinar, and part of what we were originally going to talk about was how to market your business when you don't have any money. And actually, this is perfect topic for that because AI is so incredibly, it's such an incredible tool. It really is. I'm old, I'm not really old, but I'm old enough compared to most people in business. And I've been so blessed, and I'm sure you feel this way too, although you're not as old as me.
I'm much younger, folks, much younger.
Not much younger. You are slightly younger. But that the technological advancements in being able to run a business, market a business, network, from when I first even from 20 years ago, much less when I was working on the road as a consultant and having to carry, books and CDs and music videos and DVDs and all the stuff I used to have to carry just to entertain myself because I was gone for a week at a time versus having an iPad. And then now all the technological stuff, all the apps that came out, and now AI, and I can't tell you how many years ago because I lose track, but let's guess 5 years ago, I had a client who was a programmer who was working on creating AI that would replicate your brain at the time, about 5 years ago. And he was saying how challenging it was because the way your synapses fire in your brain are different for everybody. And then you have to take into account somebody with cerebral palsy or somebody with Alzheimer's or somebody with, what's the one that everybody, the
ADD.
No, well, not ADD,
ADHD?
autism.
Okay.
Autism. Somebody with autism, how does their brain work? And you have to take all that into account. And they must have, and I don't know how far along he got, but they must have made some progress in that because AI thinks like you do. And I don't know whether it's because you tell it, you load your content so it does think like you, or if it just knows how all those different brains work. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And I think when it first starts having a conversation with somebody, let's say you go on there for the first time, it really doesn't know who you are, and it really doesn't know who it is yet. And I use it's as a pronoun because it is an inanimate object. It's non-human. And so at this time, it needs to be told that. And that's, that goes back to, prompt engineering, which I got to be honest with you, the prompt engineering is already evolving into what we call vibe coding, but that's a whole nother conversation. But you have to tell it who it is. Like I was telling you about when I asked it about my physical condition, I had to tell it was the world's leading doctor in men's health and then what area of my body. And now what it does, it's almost like it says, okay, let me filter all this other stuff out, and I'm only talking about this, right? So when you ask it a question, this is sometimes what people say, oh, that doesn't work for me. Well, you're kind of just putting it out there, and it's having to weed through and guess who you want it to be, right? Like as an example, we're talking about how do we grow our business on no budget. Well, we've already described a lot of these where they're almost like those pictures where things are hidden in the picture. We've given you a lot of those already today. I hope if you haven't gotten those, you probably should go back and look at it again and say, wait a minute, what were we talking about? ChatGPT is free. There's a free version that can do a tremendous amount for you. And here's the deal. When you have it on your phone, like Leslie does, and like I do, and a lot of people do, it's almost like, hey, I don't know that answer, but I have somebody in my pocket that probably has 40 to 60 IQ points higher than I do. Well, that's like always having a smart friend. Like, well, let me ask Leslie because she's my smart friend. The same thing can happen with this.
Right.
You just have to tell it who you need to be. So
when you hold that up there, it shows your background picture right through the phone like it's a ghost. No, the other way.
Oh, it does? Oh.
Turn around. No, turn it around. Turn it around. There. So it'll show, it's showing, I don't know how it was doing it. It was showing the background somehow. I don't know.
But so anyway, so those are, go ahead.
I was going to say the key though for your business, if you're a business owner, it can be challenging to learn how to write the correct kind of prompts in order to get what you really want back from it, first of all. So if can I hop in there for just a second? Sure.
Okay, so here's the thing, and I did this yesterday because of a new platform, and Leslie's going to scream it because she said I had to go on a diet. It is a diet, but watch how this works.
Not a weight diet, a learning diet.
She said my head was getting too big, but anyway, so here's the thing. If you don't know the prompt that you want to put in there to get the results you want, then tell ChatGPT, create me a prompt that will get this result for me. Yeah. And it will spit it out and then put it back in there and watch what happens.
I was going to say, come to one of us who knows how to write prompts, but sorry. we don't need additional business.
Well, this is on a budget. It's very expensive to come to us.
That's true. We're just doing this for fun, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And then the other thing you can do as a business owner is content that you have created needs to be loaded in there and say, learn my voice, because we all talk with different syntaxes. The way people read us is different for everybody, right? I've for years and years, I've been doing newsletters 20 years, and I have always had positive feedback because I write them like a blog. I write them like, I wrote a whole article one time about using the Wii bowling thing and how, I don't know how I transferred that around into work, but the big thing was I can Wii bowl way better than I can regular bowl. So, it doesn't matter what you talk about. It's just that it talks like you, right? So if you feed it things you've already done and say, learn my voice, learn how I write, learn this about my business, it now puts in even my company names with my trademark logo or trademark symbols and everything. It does it. I don't hardly have to correct anything. Now, the idea for what I want has to be mine. Right. I have to write the prompt and say, I want a 900. I usually say I want a 9 to 1200 word newsletter about this topic. I want to include these pieces in it, put a strong call to action with it, write a headline that catches your attention and makes you want to read. I mean, these are little things that you can put in there to make sure you get what you want. When I get the result, quite often I read it and I go, oh, I should have added this. So I'll say, add this section in or modify this or make this section bigger, more, go into more detail on this thing. And it does. And it's funny because it writes exactly what I would write if it was me doing it. Do you know what I mean? Because It's all my knowledge. I mean, the thing has mine has as much knowledge as I have. I mean, honestly, which I think is true for all of us, right? That's what we have to teach it in order to be effective for our businesses.
100%. I mean, I have an AI agent that I create. It's an avatar, and it's a marketing mentor. So it's designed to help people be able to go to it anytime and ask questions about marketing. And what I did is I loaded in 15 years of my content, because I've always made content because that's what I believe in. So videos, articles, social media posts, PDF, whatever. And I load it in. And it's also being constantly updated. So every time we post 2 or 3 times a week, it's also updating with that information. So when you go to it, it's relevant and it'll have a conversation with you. And whether it's voice, it's my voice, or you type it, it'll be my conversational type of interaction. But that's what Leslie's talking about. You can load it up and say, I want it to be my mini me. Actually, in this one, it's probably better at answering the questions than I am in person, because it doesn't have a problem going back and say, well, 14 years ago, I remember this. Let's pull this up because this is relevant. Or even better, it will take all these pieces and put them together in a way that I may not have thought of. That is a phenomenal outcome.
Right.
So
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So things like this are tools you can use to help grow your business. Now, I want to circle back to the piece where I was going to get in trouble by asking for a prompt. A lot of people will say, well, and they come to me, they come to you, you hear this is like, well, I need to build a website. And so that's that first resistance is, well, I don't have the money to build a website. Well, yesterday, and it's a beta program. You have to get approved to get in. It's called Manus, MANUS. And I submitted and I was approved. And so yesterday I thought, okay, it's time to test it out. I'd only had it 48 hours. And so I put it to work. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, listen, I want to create a landing page for my content accelerator. And so I put all the information in there I wanted to do. And I said, write a prompt for it to build a website. I'm going to use this platform to do it. And it said, sure. So it wrote this very extensive prompt. I copied it, pasted it in Manus in 7 minutes. 7 minutes. I had a working landing page. It was spot on from the very beginning. 7 minutes.
Wow.
The cost is $10 a month. Now, here's the cool thing. Manus costs $10 a month, and it will use almost every AI out there that you can think of. Like, it has all 9 LLMs in there, Copilot, Grok, whatever. So it's using whatever it is. It's using the best tools to get the results you want. And then it codes it and it gives me a zip file. I've got it over to my developer who's adding it to my website right now. 7 minutes, $10 a month. I haven't even begun to leverage that tool. If you can't afford $10 a month to grow your business, I would say that's a no budget. Then you probably should stay in or go get a W-2, because $10 is nothing.
Well, that's the thing. I did a demo yesterday. For somebody who's interested in my new software, right? The one that we revamped, and it's gorgeous. It does everything. It's amazing. I'm so proud of it. And she loved it, absolutely loved it, but it didn't do one thing she wanted. Drives me crazy. She wanted it to be able to hold receipts, that she could upload receipts to it. I'm like, oh, crap. Okay. Because we don't supply receipts to our clients, but she does. So I contacted my IT people and I got a very reasonable quote to add receipts, because we already have all the technology to do that. We already upload photos. So uploading photos is not a big deal. We already email notifications to clients. So that's not a big deal. So we have there's more, but we have all the existing technology to do it. We just need to put it in another place in the system. And then the upload would be pictures of receipts instead of pictures of the pool or whatever. So I'm adding that in. So that's one more piece that somebody has. So hopefully I won't get any more. I keep trying to think of everything that people have asked me for, but that was one they hadn't asked. So now we'll have it. And it will be visible both to we're going to make it so that you can make it visible to the client or not visible. That way, for companies like mine who want to save the receipts, but we're not passing them through to the client, we can still save them. They just won't see them. But for her, where she wants them, she's using their credit cards to buy things. There'll be a checkbox on the client profile that says, yes, they can see the receipts, and it'll automatically put on that client's login so they can see them. So
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and it's a cool feature. It's something somebody asked for. I'm able to do it in just a few days. The way technology works today is pretty amazing, and this will be a sale for me because I took a minute to do it. Now, it did cost me. It's going to cost me a couple $1,000s to do it, but in the long term, that may get me a bunch more licensees, so it's worth the investment. How many licensees do I need to pay for it? That's how you should look at everything in your business. When you don't have a big budget, you want to look at the return on investment. If I spend this, how many clients does it need to give me in order to pay for it? Right? So like when I did billboards, it would take 2 clients to pay for the cost of a billboard. So I needed to sign up 2 people off of that. Otherwise, it wasn't worth doing. So you need to look at what kind of return am I going to get for whatever I'm doing. Now, there's a lot of things you can do for free, and that's one of the things that we want to talk about. One of them is public speaking. Oh, I just heard a collective shudder on the other side of our screen. A lot of people don't like to speak in public, but if you can go speak to women's groups or BNI groups or charities or Rotary, any professional organization, they're always looking for speakers. And if you can talk about your business, it costs you nothing to do that. And you can get broader brand awareness than you would have otherwise, right? And you can use AI to write the content, so it's super easy.
Well, let me toss something out there.
Yeah.
And is some people are going to say, yes, but I still need permission to do those things. Like as an example, I just can't walk into, our Chamber of Commerce, say I want to do a talk. I have to have their permission to do that, right? So
Yeah.
that may be one of those things that I don't have a budget, but there's my excuse. Well, here's the deal. How many people, Leslie, did we have to get approval to do this podcast?
None.
And we're speaking 1 to many, in this case, 2 to many. And
or at least 3 or 4. I don't know.
Yeah. And so that's a multiplication of your chances of success. My point is this, Russell Brunson, if you don't know who he is, he wrote a book called .com Secrets. He's a multi-billionaire that created the product called ClickFunnels. And he claims, and I've heard this now 3 or 4 times in 1 week. And sometimes when you hear things like that, you're going, okay, Jeff, that is a clue.
Right.
And he said, if you create a webinar and you give that webinar, you do a webinar free once a week for 1 year, you will never, ever have to worry about money again. And he goes on to talk about it in his book, .com Secrets, right over here on my counter, he says, and you don't have to worry about having a big audience. You don't have to worry about having a big budget. You just have to give a value, and it's always in an opportunity at the end to ask them to take, if they want to take advantage of what you have, to then go forward. Well, let's say in the case of Leslie, let's say she does that once a week, and every week or every month you sign up 2 new clients. Well, that's 24 new clients in a year. Would that make an impact in your business, Leslie?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And how much financially did it cost you to do that?
Zero.
Well,
the little bit of time it takes to create it, but.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, did you have to pay the TV station or the radio station?
No.
Or did you have to pay the internet so that you could do a live webinar? No. You can go to Facebook and do free live webinars. You can go to YouTube and do free live webinars. They happen every day. So there's zero resistance. So again, I'm getting down to that point. It says, how do we grow our business on no budget? This is a way to do it. Get out there and be resourceful. And instead of looking for resources, be resourceful, as Tony Robbins would say, and say, what is my service? Who am I servicing? How can I put together a message that people will, when they're out there looking on the internet for how do I do X, you're that person they say, oh my gosh, let's watch this webinar. I think that is an easy direct line. Now, here's the thing. Most people would rather go to the grocery store and buy tomatoes versus plant the seeds, nurture them, and grow them, and have vines that will keep continuously growing tomatoes indefinitely because
True.
it takes a little more time.
True. And so your point is,
My point is,
are we
you
growing
should.
tomatoes or are we buying
Well,
tomatoes?
you're growing tomatoes. You're growing because again, that's the difference between content and advertising. Advertising, you're going to the grocery store and you're paying for those tomatoes. But the moment you stop paying for the tomatoes, guess what? You don't have anymore.
Tomatoes.
If no more But if I keep growing them and I keep nurturing them, every time I go out there, there's what on the vine?
Right.
New tomatoes, new business.
You have
That's
the best
why.
metaphors.
Thanks. So if you go out there and do this, like Leslie, she does her webinars. In fact, I'll put it up on the screen here. This is something she offers. And so she does this. What do you do this on Wednesdays? It's a free webinar for real estate agents on.
Well, I'm not doing that one right now.
Oh, you're not? Sorry. So what is this one?
That's the landing page for the educational training program.
Even more important. Important.
And so what I'm going to do is start doing a webinar about how to work. I want to do a webinar about the common issues that all small businesses face where they get caught in the jail of their business. Their business becomes a jail and they can't, we all have a vision when we first get started of freedom, autonomy. This is why we want to start a business. We don't want to have to clock in somewhere. You don't want to have to be there at a certain time. And so all that's good, the difference between a W-2 job and working for yourself. However, the reality is, which is why we're called Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted, the reality is that we all get into a prison of our business and that you can't go places. Your phone is always ringing. If you have people working for you, you've got drama and issues with employees all the time. There could always be client issues, damage control you have to do. And so how do you break that cycle? How do you get past that so that your business can run without you? And that's what I'm teaching in that class. And I also want to do a webinar to help people understand they're not alone and that we do know the secret of how to fix this problem. And so that's the webinar I'm working up right now. And that's the one we're going to start doing on Wednesdays. But the learn.conciergebusinesssolutions.com that you're showing on the screen is the landing page to the 3 levels of the educational series, Freedom by Design. It's called Freedom by Design, How to Build a Business That Runs Without You. And it is absolutely, I'm a perfect example of somebody who was so trapped, I couldn't go anywhere without my laptop. And now I can go everywhere I don't even worry about it. So, in fact, I was telling somebody the other day that I work if I work 2 hours a week in my business, it's a lot in executive errands, right? And I also opened a book that's called Walk Away Wealthy. Have you seen that one? You're not allowed to read it. You're on a reading diet, but there's a book called Walk Away Wealthy. And one of the very first paragraphs says, the way to make your business highly valuable is for it to be able to run without you. Right? That's what people look at. I get asked that question all the time. How much time do you spend working in your business? And so I finally found that secret and I want to share it with everybody, which is that landing page. But I'm going to do that webinar too. We talked about this yesterday or the day before, you and I, by text. We were talking about that. And
is that when you stopped texting me? I thought maybe I hit a soft, hit a hard button.
I was doing grandma duty and I had a 20-month-old who needed my attention.
Gotcha.
But
I thought I hit a wound and said, I'm not listening to Jeff anymore.
No. I would always listen to you. You're my security blanket. I think you're amazing. But which is why you went with me to videotape all of those videos because I need you there to say no or yes. So
you did a great job.
Thanks. It was really fun, creating that. I don't think people realize that's like 50 videos or something, 46 videos of how to, and it's like super detailed on how to do this. If you follow this prescription, you will definitely be miles ahead of the game, miles ahead. It won't take you. 15 years to get there.
And here's a little, this is my opinion because I got to watch it all go down. And I've known Leslie now for a long time. We've known each other for a long time. And she's very successful and methodical at what she does. And as I watched this, I thought, and I'm not kidding, if you went to college, it would take you 4 years plus additional, what do they call it, graduate classes to get what you would get in this. I think it's 8 modules.
It's 8 modules, yeah.
8 modules of learning. And the other thing that's really cool about this is not only do you get the education, but it's like you can raise your hand to the teacher, because then she's also created a private Facebook page where you can go in there and ask questions and engage with other people who are going through the same process as you. And there's nothing more valuable than hanging around people of like-mindedness going through the same process. And then you have her popping in and out of there and answering questions, giving great advice on that. But that's the cool part about this. And it all comes with the program. And I think, to me, it's a fraction. I mean, I was just watching, somebody said, oh, my kids are going to be going to school, and one was going to Princeton, and the amount of money they're spending per semester, I'm like, how in the world can you afford that?
Yeah.
This is a fraction of that.
My knowledge base is like going to Pepperdine, right? It's like, I mean, in all seriousness, because I years and years and years ago, I formed a student professional association at Pepperdine. I don't think anybody knows that. I did that, 35 years ago, something like that. I mean, ridiculous amount of time ago. And so when I was there and I was looking at the books that they were teaching and the information they were giving, I'm like, oh my God, this is all the stuff I know. So I like to joke and say I have the knowledge base of an MBA without the MBA, which really, really pisses off MBAs. You just can't say that. But there's a difference between principles and applications, right? So principles are what they teach you in school. Being able to apply that information is a whole different thing. And so I'm giving you practical application and how to actually take these business management principles, because this is all industry best practices. This is not specific to the lifestyle management industry. I think that's important to know. This is any business owner can benefit from this, because you watched it, right? Any business owner is going to learn how to run their business. I don't care if you have an auto body shop or you're making bagels or you are in some, designers. It doesn't matter what kind of business, retail, service, manufacturing, I don't care. These principles are the same for everybody. Yeah. And so I really hope that people find it and try it out, because gosh, you know how many people I could help with this? I'm so excited. That's my goal, is to help so many people. And I really hope that they get it.
Well, that's the beauty about folks, about doing things online. Even if you're a brick and mortar and you're saying, I only serve a local audience. Right. That's even more of a reason to do what Leslie is talking about, is taking your information online, is because you can serve people. I'll give you a perfect example. I was reading a case study about a gentleman who was a landscaper. Now, as you know, landscapers kind of do what? They work in their local area. They don't travel all over the country. Oh, wait a second. Maybe they do. A gentleman started making videos about how he takes care of people's lawns and their flowers and doing some, like making flower beds, making patios, things like that. Well, what happened was, one day, out of the blue, he gets this call from someplace across the country. I think he was living in Southern California. He got a call from somebody in North Carolina. And so they flew him out there to redesign their backyard. Now, he was a local gardener, landscaper. His business now does 7 figures. And now what he does is he sells his landscaping stuff online, just like Leslie's talking about in this link. It started by just saying, I'm just going to document what I do and share it with other people, because not only will your local people find it, but you'll bubble up as saying, this person is an expert at what they're doing. They're very good at what they're doing. I'm going to reach out and see if they'll help me with that. And so don't put yourself in this category of like, well, yeah, but I live in a small city and, I only serve my local community. You'd be surprised what may happen.
I only serve my local community with executive errands. I mean, seriously. And I get calls from all over the country about how to run this kind of a business and how to do this. Now, I created Concierge Business Solutions because of the software originally, and then went into the consulting and the coaching and all that stuff, which for me was full circle, right? Because that's what I did when I worked in aerospace as a consultant: software best fit, implementations, business process engineering, education and training. All of that's the same thing. So just a different industry. So for me, it's super fun. This is where my heart is Concierge Business Solutions. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that Executive Errands gave me that opportunity, right? So don't be afraid. What we're trying to say to you is that one thing you're doing can definitely lead to something else. And we're both big believers in repurposing your content over and over again. You don't have to make everything be brand new, right? Back to AI, for example, I'll take newsletters that I wrote 15 years ago, plug them into AI and say, update this for current, the way we are today, and it will redo it and make it better than it was. It was good then, it's better now, So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time, but you do need to understand how business works so that you can be successful, because it's more, you don't have, I guess I'm trying to say that you don't have to have a lot of money to do it. You have to have some, but you don't have to have a lot, especially if you redo things. And being on social media and doing internet videos and stuff, I'm surprised at some of the people that do them. I'm always worried about how I look, and I'm sure most people are. How do I look? And is my hair right? And blah, blah, blah. And I see these people my granddaughter and her dad, my 15-year-old granddaughter and her dad are doing seaweed chip reviews. So they're doing them they're doing them in the car, and they're doing them just outside the grocery store, and they're doing them in their kitchen. And half the time her hair's all askew because she's 15. And it's hilarious. I watch these and I'm like, this is freaking hilarious. And so why seaweed chips? I don't know. Okay.
Well, that's the other thing is Leslie, there's a market for everything. Now, you might live in a small city where there's 10,000 people, and maybe seaweed chip reviews, you can't even buy them in your city. But You're no longer just talking to your local community. You now have the ability to talk to almost 8 billion people. And when every day there's almost 4 billion people a day interacting on platforms like Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn, they're all there. And you have that opportunity to connect with them. And who knows where it takes them? Maybe they're just doing it. And next thing you know, they'll get all the free seaweed chips they want. And they'll, who knows? And then they'll have merchandise and sell seaweed chip merchandise. Who knows? I know you already make T-shirts, right? Hey, before we get too far down this road, I want to talk about one last thing. And it's the word agency. And I want to give us some reference. A young man worked for us. He's from another country, and he worked for us for a little bit. But what happened was we no longer needed his skill set, and he was very limited in what he knew. So he would contact me. Now, I hadn't had any real close contact with him for about 18 months. And then in the last 2 months, he started reaching out and saying, hey, do you have any work for me? And I'd say, well, hey, I appreciate it, Neymar, but I don't have anything. And then one time I said, tell me what your skill sets are now. And he says, well, and I said, do you do any video editing? And he says, as a matter of fact, I do. Now, 18 months earlier, he did not have any skill set for that. So what he did in that brief time we were away is he went back, and in his words, he said, I reinvented myself and started learning the skills I needed to come back and work for you. Now, I was blown away because, you want to come work for me? And so he now makes these videos that actually blow me away. He's gotten so good at them. Yeah. And so then he also told me yesterday that not only does he do video, but he does some other things that are going to play in. So now he has created his own job. My point with this is agency. Take agency on your own life. Don't wait for someone to give you permission, which is what we're talking about. Don't wait for to do public speaking for a Rotary Club or Chamber of Commerce to give you permission to give that talk. Right. Do it for them. Now, I'm going to say this, I'm going to turn over to you because I know you have something on this topic. Agency is like this. If you want to grow your business, you probably know who your customers are. And in this case, let's say it's me, and I want to, I know that, let's say I want to work with high end, or excuse me, doctor offices that have high call volumes. So what I do is I'm going to build an AI inbound and outbound voice agent that can answer their calls, book their appointments, call their clients back, and confirm they're going to be in the next day. And I'm going to build this for them. And then let's say Leslie's that doctor. I'm going to go back to that doctor, Leslie. I'm going to say, listen, I built something for you. I would like to give it to you because I think it would benefit your business. And all I'm asking you to do is give them a review if you like this and what it means. You didn't ask me for it. I just knew it was something that was a challenge for you, because when I'd call in, I would be put on hold for 15 minutes or somebody wouldn't get back to me for the next day. That is an opportunity. So what can you do controlling your own agency to say, my ideal customer has problems with this, they have challenges with this. What can I do for them before I ever ask them to do for me? Well, that costs you nothing.
Right. Exactly. And that brings me back to WIFM, and I'll touch that in a minute, but that's exactly what I'm doing with the lady I did the demo for yesterday. She said, I love everything you've done. It is flipping amazing. She has a bunch of apps. Remember how we talked about app fatigue, and she's got all these different apps, and she's got stuff living in all different places, and she wants it all in one place. And I do that for everything but receipts. So now I'm going to do receipts for her. Am I charging her to make this change? No. I'm going to put it in so that she sees, hopefully she'll see, hey, she thinks my business is important enough to make this change, right? And so it's not going to cost her anything extra to have it, which is what I'm going to do for her. With him, as we've talked about, WIIFM, so 2 I's, WIIFM, is what's in it for me. But it isn't, and I think this is something all business owners really have to learn. It's not about what's in it for you as the business owner. It's what's in it for the client or customer that you're servicing, and what problem are you solving for them. I helped somebody with a proposal for a doctor's office, and everybody gets hung up on the section about why should you hire me, right? And most people say, oh, I've been in business this long, I have good quality, we have good reviews online, yada, yada, yada. I know exactly. But what I counseled her to say, or coached her to say, is, because we did some research to see what was going on at that particular hospital. And then I coached her to say, we understand that patient satisfaction is your number one priority, and that you also have an absenteeism or fatigue issue with your doctors and your nurses. So by engaging our services, we can offload some of the personal responsibilities. This is for our lifestyle management business. So we can offload some of the personal responsibilities that the doctors and the nurses have, which alleviates their pressure and fatigue, so that they can then provide better quality of care to your patients because they feel better, and that then your patient satisfaction will go up. That's putting what's in it for me from the hospital's perspective, right? And that costs you nothing to do. Right? It's just a reframing of how you present yourself or your business. I always go back to hamburger places because it blows my mind that you can have Wendy's and Jack in the Box and Five Guys and In-N-Out on 4 different corners. They're all sell hamburgers. They are all successful. Why is that? Because each of them offers something different to the consumer that they want. And so you have to find out what problem can you solve for the potential client or customer, and then how do you present it so they see it. I do that with real estate agents. Just in a nutshell, real estate agents, their buyers often feel a sense of of abandonment or separation anxiety because that real estate agent has been holding their hand all the way through escrow. And then when their escrow closes, they need to move on to another listing, right? I tell them, if you transition them to me, I will give them the same level of customer service and enhance their living experience, and they won't have that separation anxiety. And then you can get them back when they're ready to sell and buy another house. That's offering a solution for a problem that all real estate agents face, is that separation anxiety that buyers often have. And so you have to find a way to solve a problem. And again, it costs nothing to do that. You just have to think about your business in a different, reframe how you think about it, right? And all of life is, I heard a great quote this morning that says, life is about a series of decisions, and some are good decisions and some are bad decisions, and all of them have consequences.
Yeah.
Right. So make good decisions for your business. Take advantage of things like AI. Don't be afraid to use them. If you're unsure, I'm telling you, Jeff is the guru on AI. He can help you set you down a path so you can learn how to use it. It's pretty intuitive. The key is just teaching it what you know so that it can talk like you. That's the big thing. I do it for emails all the time. I have a sticky thing I have to tell a client, and I'll write in there, say, please write me a professional and courteous but humorous, nice email or friendly email about this topic, because I got to explain this and it's not going to be a good one. And it always comes back with something that's very professional. Real quick, one example of that is sometimes we run higher than other vendors for what we provide in my executive Aaron's business. And it's because I only use licensed and insured vendors, and that comes with a premium. So this client asked me, how come she said, when I first gave her the bid, she says, I'm going to go out and get other quotes. I said, okay. And I wrote an email through AI that said, okay, that's fine. Here's blah, 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 blah. And then she came back and she said, why are you so much more expensive? And so I went back to AI and said, I got to answer this question. And it gave me a response. And you know that she came back 2 weeks after that and gave us the work. So if I had answered it myself, I'm sure I would, without AI's help, I'm sure I would have given an appropriate and acceptable answer, but I got a better answer in using this. And I truly believe that that's how come I got the contract award. So don't scoff at these tools that we're telling you about, because they can help you and they don't have to cost very much or anything.
Well, the other thing is, I'm gonna circle back and kind of, as we wrap things up, is, be resourceful versus looking for resources. A lot of times we will go to Google as our place where we need answers. I would challenge you to think about, and you choose the platform. It doesn't have to be OpenAI. It could be Grok. It could be, Copilot, whatever you want to do. But I would go out and I would ask it those questions we're talking about, that we've been discussing, and say, hey, these are the challenges I'm having. Are there avenues I can take that I don't have to spend a lot of money?
Right.
Can you give me a step-by-step? You'll be blown away at what it will do. And the reason I'm suggesting this over the Google search, because here's the thing. If you read an article, let's say there's 2 articles up there, one that Leslie wrote, one that I wrote. They both have our biases in there, right? She might think doing X is really good, and I might think X is not such a good idea. The only reason is because of our biases on that. But when you ask the open source or AI that, it will just give you the best results based on data.
Right.
And now it's not skewing your thought of, well, I'm not going to do that because Leslie said it's not a good idea.
Right.
But yet there's people out there making gazillions of dollars, or they're being successful because they're doing that. Don't let that happen. So I would say use that resource, and you can do it in the free resource. Everybody can download the ChatGPT app, and it's free, and you can ask it and ask questions, and you get a lot of great information. The other thing I want to point out as we wrap up is the word democratization, and I might have spelled that wrong. And if I did, hey, you know what? So what? It doesn't matter. This is our show. Yes. And what this means is that the cost of things, usually, if you think about an automobile, think about the first time you bought a car and now what it costs. Has it gotten more expensive or less expensive?
More expensive.
More expensive. Is it more technologically advanced or less?
More. You're driving a computer.
Absolutely. But here's the cool thing. As AI has been evolving, it has democratized the cost of doing things. As an example, that example of me having to build a landing page for $10 versus, let's say, $200 or $300 or $700 by my developer, it's made it easier. The barrier to entry. The barrier to entry to success is now so low. The only thing stopping you is taking a step forward because the tools are there.
That's right. And you have to learn what, cover your ears, Jeff, because you're on sabbatical from learning. But he really is covering his ears. You have to go out and do some research and find out what is available to you. And I use ChatGPT also. So I'm just saying that as it's going to end up being a generic, like aspirin, which was a real product at one time. And now it's just generic. ChatGPT, you can ask it what resources are available. So if you don't know, it will tell you what's out there. And it has told me many times, there's all these different ones available to you that you can utilize. And so then you can go play with them and see what feels right to you and what works for your business. Just be careful you don't get too many going, because then you defeat the purpose. But at least I think you can become app exhausted or app fatigued pretty easily. But you can totally do this. I have faith in you.
Yeah, and today we've been talking about how do we grow our business on no budget. We have given you a plethora. Actually, it's a cornucopia.
A miasma.
Yeah, there you go.
I love that.
That sounds like that hurts. Do I have to be put out for that?
I don't know.
Okay. So anyway, there's a lot of takeaways here. I was going to do a recap, but it's long. The point is there are so many tools that are available and even more coming down the pike every day. This is something I was meeting with real quickly last week with a developer, and he said, every day the playing field gets leveled, meaning if you think people are so far ahead of you, tomorrow it will be a brand new day because there's so many new things coming out that you can jump on the train right now and already be way ahead of those people that are not doing anything. Because here's the thing. Here's a stat that blew me away. It used to be, when this was in 2024, the biggest uptake of using artificial intelligence and automation was mostly seen by the employee. Now that's totally flipped. It was like 70%, 20%. 70% employee, 20% business owner, right? Or business. Now it's totally flipped. Now what that means is now, and we see it all the time, look at the headlines. I challenge you to look at the headlines where a business has not said, hey, this is where we're going. We're saying we're going to hire more people who already know how to work with artificial intelligence, or we want them to work side by side. Radiologists, as an example. If you're resisting using this technology, you may find yourself in trouble. So put yourself in alignment with that. And so with this, be resourceful. You have so much going on that, again, ask the questions. What can I do? Get a hold of Leslie, right? Get a hold of myself. Ask us. Put the information in the chat. Hey, I have a question about this. We'll be more than happy to answer it for you. Absolutely. Leslie, that's all I have. Any other thoughts before we wrap things up today?
About a zillion of them, but we're already over our time for this podcast, so we'll have to address more of this another time. I do want to tell everybody thank you so much for watching us. We love doing this. We're having a ball, having great fun doing it, and I hope that you'll recommend us to all your friends and subscribe to us, and email us and let us know your thoughts about things too. Do we have anywhere where they can get a hold of us, Jeff? Is that on any of the podcast information? I don't know how that works.
We have nothing. We don't want anybody to be able to actually contact us. Yeah. We don't want anybody to spam us. Let me just, I will put it in the show notes so that if you have a question, you can get a hold of Leslie or myself. Because some of you may you resonate more with Leslie, or you may resonate more with me. Please resonate with Leslie. I hate answering email. No, I'm just kidding. Please let me know. We'll put an email in the show notes that you can get a hold of Leslie or you can get a hold of myself, and we'll be more than happy to help you out.
That's right. And check us out on Spotify. If you don't have time to watch, you can always listen to us. I think it's more fun to watch because we're kind of crazy, but we'll see how it goes.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Leslie. Awesome. It was a great day. Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast. My name is Jeff Harrison. My company is called Swing Point Media. We're a digital marketing agency using AI to help you get more customers. Leslie?
Leslie Spoor, Concierge Business Solutions, where we do software, consulting, education and training, and process engineering, and documents and forms. Pretty much anything you need to run your business.
Thanks, Leslie. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.